God chose a man who could not speak properly to deliver the most important message in human history. Moses, the man who would part seas and shake empires, had a severe speech impediment. He stuttered. He stumbled over words. When God called him to confront Pharaoh, Moses said, "Please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." Yet this same man delivered the 10 Commandments and led millions out of slavery. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal will completely change how you see your own limitations. The story begins in a palace where a Hebrew baby was saved from death by Pharaoh's daughter. Moses grew up with royal privilege, Egyptian education, and unlimited resources. But he carried a secret burden. He could barely speak without stumbling. In ancient Egypt, eloquence was everything. Pharaohs were considered gods partly because of their commanding speech. Religious leaders, military commanders, and government officials were all expected to speak with authority and fluency. And here was Moses, raised in the palace, unable to deliver a simple sentence without struggle. At 40 years old, Moses tried to help his people by killing an Egyptian taskmaster. When other Hebrews rejected his intervention, asking, "Who made you ruler over us?" Moses fled to the desert. For 40 years, he lived as a forgotten shepherd, tending sheep in Midian, probably believing his speech problem had disqualified him from any significant purpose. But God had different plans. At 80 years old, while tending sheep near Mount Horeb, Moses saw a bush burning but not consumed. When he approached, God called his name twice. "Moses, Moses." The voice that spoke from the flames was about to give him the most impossible assignment in history. "Go to Pharaoh and bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." Moses immediately protested about his speech. "Pardon your servant, Lord, I have never been eloquent." God's response was stunning. "Who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." But Moses still resisted. "Pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else." God's anger burned, but he provided Aaron as Moses' spokesman. However, something incredible happened as the story unfolded. When Moses stood before Pharaoh, demanding, "Let my people go," it was Moses who spoke the words that shook Egypt. When he stretched his rod over the Red Sea, it was Moses who commanded the waters to part. When he climbed Mount Sinai, it was Moses who received the law directly from God's mouth. The man who thought he could not speak became the voice of the Almighty. Here is what most people miss about this story. God did not heal Moses' speech impediment. Instead, he chose to work through it. Every time Moses opened his mouth to speak God's words, it was a miracle. Every plague, every confrontation with Pharaoh, every moment of leadership was God proving that he chooses the weak things to confound the mighty. Think about what you are facing right now. What limitation do you believe disqualifies you from your purpose? What weakness makes you think God cannot use you? Moses teaches us that God's power is made perfect in our weakness. The greatest leaders in history were not those who had no flaws, but those who allowed God to work through their flaws. Do you stutter when you speak? God might want to use your voice to change nations. Do you feel too young or too old? Moses was 80 when his real ministry began. Do you come from the wrong background? Moses was a murderer and a fugitive who became the lawgiver. Do you feel unqualified? Moses felt the same way, yet he delivered 3 million people from slavery. The key is this. Moses stopped focusing on what he could not do and started focusing on what God could do through him. Every time he opened his mouth, he had to trust that God would give him the words. Every time he lifted his rod, he had to believe God would do the impossible. Your greatest weakness might be the very place where God wants to display his greatest power. That speech impediment Moses had, it forced him to depend on God for every word. His weakness became the doorway for divine strength. If you have been disqualified by others because of your limitations, remember this. God qualifies the called. He does not call the qualified. Moses left Egypt as a murderer. He returned as a deliverer. He left as a shepherd. He returned as the leader of nations. The same God who spoke through Moses' stammering lips wants to speak through your life today. What looks like your greatest disadvantage might be your greatest advantage in God's hands. Your weakness is not your disqualification. It is your invitation to experience God's power. If this message is speaking to your heart, if you have been struggling with feelings of inadequacy, drop a comment below and tell me what limitation you have been allowing to hold you back. Sometimes just naming it is the first step toward breakthrough. Remember, God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for available people. Moses made himself available despite his weakness, and God used him to change the course of human history. The same invitation is extended to you today. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because I want to continue sharing these life-changing biblical truths with you. Next week, we will explore another unlikely hero who teaches us that God's strength is revealed in our weakness. Until then, remember, your limitation is not your limitation when God is your source.